Howdy y'all, and welcome back to my hashtag I am a champion series. So I apologize if the wind picks up too much. That's part of the whole being in the winter season. It is windy around here. But I wanted to talk to you about my favorite moment in all of Olympic history that I have watched. Now there's a lot of Olympic moments that I could say, man, I loved that, and I love both Winter and Summer Olympics equally, but I have to say the one moment that really kind of changed a lot about me, and so to me, my favorite moment in all of Olympic history, at least that I've seen, has to be in 1994 in Lillehammer when Bonnie Blair won her career-defining final gold medal. It was intense to watch this short track speed skating event. I'm pretty inspired today because the men were doing some speed skating and the women were doing some team speed skating, which if you have not seen this, is pretty insane. Anyways, so here I was about 1994. That makes me 8 years old at the time, I believe, depending on what part of the year it was in. But anyhow, I was about 8 years old, and I'm watching the speed skating event, and everyone is just in so much tension and wondering if she's going to cross the finish line in what position. And she's already won, like she is tied for the most amount of medals by a female speed skater at the time, and everyone's rooting for her, and she goes and she crosses the finish line. She gets gold. She's in first place, and the whole crowd is just in elation. And then suddenly, everybody gets quiet for a second, and you hear the whole crowd singing "My Bonnie Lies Over the Ocean" in this like wave of song. And it was one of the most emotional moments for me watching an Olympics moment. And I absolutely loved it, and from then on, I wanted to be a speed skater. Growing up, for me, most of the kids that I was around, we loved rollerblading. It was a huge deal, and I would race anybody I got a chance to. Now, I didn't have anything professional to race against. I didn't have any clubs to be part of in my area, at least that I knew of. But I raced everybody I knew of, and pretty much I got nicknamed Bonnie Blair by everybody I knew, and at least that knew about it. And I wanted so badly to be the next Bonnie Blair. And it was a really thrilling thing. I also loved gymnastics, and I loved figure skating, and I'll talk more about that in a little while, but for me that was a pretty defining time. And as you probably have noticed, I didn't become the next Bonnie Blair. And there are plenty of reasons for that. One of which, as I mentioned, there was nowhere for me to really, compete. At least that I knew of. And the second one, the biggest reason why nothing came out of it, was that one of my Bonnie Blair moments found me going too fast and not knowing how to stop. And I ran into my brother and I broke my leg. Very badly. And I know some people can get back from that, push on, and still compete. And for those people, I applaud you tremendously. I have huge respect when you're able to come back from such an injury. Unfortunately for me, my injury wasn't just out of the blue. It turned out that it was the catalyst to us learning that I had something called brittle bone disorder, osteogenesis imperfecta, type 1, for anyone that's wanting to look up what I have. Don't freak out. Number one is quite livable. It just makes it a little hard for competing. So what happened after I broke my leg? You know, I was pretty crushed. My dreams of, possibly picking myself up and competing in the Olympics were pretty much shattered. No one ever said anything because, frankly, I didn't talk about my dream all that much, but it was pretty much known to me at that point. When I had to relearn how to walk, it was a very difficult journey that took me 1.5 years to learn how to walk again after I broke my leg. And shortly after that, I tried to get back on rollerblades, and I broke my hip. That is the point where we found out that I had OI, osteogenesis imperfecta, type 1. And I had to relearn how to walk again. And then at 17, I broke my hip again, well, this time the other side, and had to relearn how to walk for the third time. Doesn't really lend itself to Olympic medals. And so picking myself up and figuring out what I was supposed to do after that, and finding new dreams, and really going back to the dreams that I had, even alongside my Olympic dreams. I still loved singing. I've always loved singing. I've always loved telling stories. And I've always loved acting, and basically entertaining and storytelling has always been inbred in me. So, no, I'm not in the Olympics this year, nor do I foresee myself ever being in the Olympics. Unless one day they miraculously call me and want me in some sort of opening ceremony. Doubt it. But maybe it's to tell stories like this, to inspire young people that are having to find new dreams for themselves and are up against these kind of challenges. I still am really inspired by Bonnie Blair. I loved that I just learned last night that her daughter, named Blair, is a figure skater, and we might be seeing her in the next Winter Olympics. So keep an eye out for Blair, because I'm hoping that she takes up her mom's talents, and we can see some really great American female speed skaters back out there. There are some this year. I don't know any of their names at the moment, but if you haven't watched speed skating, it's a little bit nerve-wracking, but it's really fun to watch. And just when you think you know who's going to win, bam, someone comes up out of nowhere, either behind or in front of the person, and it's like, what? And lo and behold, they steal the medal. So I find it really pretty fascinating. So go ahead and check it out. And yeah, so that is my most memorable Olympic moment of my lifetime. What's one of yours? What's something that maybe shaped or inspired a dream or a part of a time of your life that maybe still is part of you today? Love to hear from you guys. How am I being a champion today? How am I abled today? Well, I'm making this video today, and I'm not really sure. I didn't really think that part out in this video, to be perfectly honest. But I was able to take a nap today when I felt pretty rotten. I just was extremely exhausted this morning. For no particular reason, I just really was. And I am grateful that God abled me to take a nap. And so that I was able to make this video for you today, be clear-headed enough. I've had this on my mind since yesterday, and I was really inspired by speed skating. So there you are. So go out there and be a champion today, and don't forget who has made you abled. Ta-ta for now.